So I'm hitting the road by foot, which is weird because I do own cars. I own cars to rent too. Except today, I had one of those hunger cravings for junk food. And as a guy who used to be fat, those hunger cravings were always difficult to control. I never really had a good idea of what I could do to control it. I tried it all. I tried coaches and trainers and MyFitnessPal and all sorts of diet apps, and none of them really worked. I mean, I would stop the junk food binging for a couple of months, sometimes for longer. I think the longest I went was about 9 months. But I'd always find a reason to go back to junk food. And usually it was because I was unhappy with a relationship, or maybe my finances were a bit messed up, taxes were high. In either case, I couldn't come up with how to break a bad habit until I started studying reward. And that's what today is going to be about. Today is going to be about what is reward. A lot of times, casual readers will hear me say high reward or low reward, when I really should be saying higher reward or lower reward. You can't really say something is high reward, and you can't really say something is low reward, because that's not how reward works. The basics with reward is that it just really means a reaction in the brain. We're talking about brain reward. We're not talking about rewards like winning the lottery reward or getting a college degree reward. It's not that kind of reward. It's actually a reaction in the brain to an action that you do physically or mentally. A higher reward activity means that the brain is more rewarded than a lower reward activity. For example, playing a slot machine in the casino and winning is higher reward than spending 6 months growing flowers in the garden. So what higher reward tends to mean is we're talking about activities that are quicker to fulfill dopamine in the brain. That's it. Dopamine is not the only reward hormone and neurotransmitter that's in the brain, but it's the big one, the one that everybody talks about when they talk about dopamine fasting and the like. In my case, the mindset that I try and preach and practice is one where I aim to reduce or curb higher reward activities over time. Going back to junk food binging, I found that replacing one higher reward activity associated with junk food actually helped me curb my junk food cravings and binges. Let's talk about the reward of driving your car somewhere. Getting in the car and going to the store, say 5 or 10 minutes away, is a higher reward activity than putting your shoes on and walking 3 miles to the store. It's higher reward because the dopamine comes quicker. One thing that we have to discuss and ponder when we're talking about reward is what are the values that go into deciding if something is higher reward than something else. One of the issues, one of the calculations, one of the costs of reward is how fast does pleasure come? Getting in the car and driving to Burger King is really easy. It comes really fast. You could probably get to a fast food joint in minutes in most of the country, and maybe some of you are an hour out, but we could substitute any other destination for the time frame that it takes to get that reward in the brain. So getting in the car and driving 5 or 10 minutes to get some junk food, that's higher reward than walking there, which could take 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or in my case, walking to Burger King might take 25 minutes, but it's a slower process. When reaching a goal is faster rather than slower, the reward value is higher rather than lower. And that's true even if the destination is not junk food. Maybe you want to go see your grandkids. Getting in the car and driving to your grandkids is higher reward in the brain than walking to go see your grandkids, which is lower reward in the brain than the other. And these are the things that we have to think about when gauging if something is a higher or lower reward activity. Another value in the calculation of reward is, what is the risk? We want a burger, we're craving it, we feel bad about our day, so we're going to get in the car and we're going to drive to the fast food joint. Let's consider the risk. I get in the car, it's pretty unlikely that I'm going to get in a car accident. There's a risk, but it's pretty unlikely. I go on foot, and there's a risk I get hit by a car or a bus. It's pretty unlikely. So the risk there isn't about physical pain or death. But let's think about other risks. I get in the car, I drive to the store, I'm probably going to find parking. There's probably going to be a very short line in the drive-thru. Not a lot of risks. What if I get my shoes on and hit the road right now, and I'm looking at the sky? It's pretty cloudy today. On my way to Burger King to get a Burger King taco. What if it rains? I might be a mile from home or a mile from Burger King. I might even have to call an Uber and spend $7 to get home. That's the risk I'm talking about. The higher the risk is that you're not going to get what you want, or that something is going to get in the way, the higher the risk is, the lower the reward is compared to something that's low risk. So getting in the car, driving to Burger King, it's pretty low risk. Low risk means higher reward. While walking to the grocery store to get myself food, or walking to the burger joint to get myself some junk food, is definitely lower reward. High risk, low reward. Let's look at it again. If it comes fast, it's higher reward. If it's low risk, it's higher reward. Now, what about comparing two burgers that might be higher or lower reward than the other? There's a third cost that's involved in reward, and that is, how much do you have to work to get it? Going to Burger King, any way you want to go, by car, on foot, delivered to your house, however you want to look at it, that Burger King burger requires almost no work. I give them $2, I got a burger. Pretty simple. What about if I had ground beef in the fridge? Unseasoned, raw ground beef. I got to take it out of the fridge. Maybe I got to take it out of the freezer and thaw it. I got to mix up some salt and pepper and garlic and onion and whatever else you want to season it with. And then I got to turn on the grill, or turn on the oven, or turn on a skillet. There's a lot of work that's involved in making that burger. I can get it for $2, or I can make it myself. The amount of labor that you mix in to get to a final product is directly related to the reward values of that activity. So if I don't have to do any work but say drive or make a phone call, and I get my final product, that's higher reward than if I had to actually go thaw the beef, heat up the oven or grill, mix up the spices, and make that burger. So the third value in whether something is high or low reward would be, what's the cost in my labor? If I have to work for it, it's lower reward versus something I don't have to work for at all. Another cost that's involved, another value that's involved in figuring out if something is higher or lower reward than something else would be financial. The cheaper that something is, the higher reward it tends to be versus something expensive. That's not always the case though, because it could be branding decides to make something more expensive than it really should be, just because that's part of their brand elements. But buying a $2 hamburger at Burger King versus making a hamburger at home with my own electricity or gas, with my own water for cleaning the dishes and soap, with my own salt and pepper and garlic and onion and pans and pots and cutting boards and plastic wrap and whatever else you want to talk about. These costs that are involved in making the burger are much higher on a financial level, typically, than just going and buying a burger at a fast food joint. Same is true with pizza. I don't know how many people tried making their own pizza, but you can get a really tasty pizza at Pizza Hut for a couple of bucks. You want to make it at home, you end up spending $20. So one of the reward valuations part of the calculation of whether or not something is high reward or low reward is financial cost. If something is really cheap to get at, it's probably going to be higher reward than the item that actually requires more money on it. Again, that's not true 100% of the time, but as you start to understand the elements of calculating reward, you're going to see that we've got the 4 basics set down right now. I'm still on my way, still walking toward that Burger King, because the way that I quit junk food binging was I cut one of the most basic elements of reward. I cut the drive out. If I want to go get a Burger King taco, or I want to go to Culver's and get an awesome frozen custard concrete, or I want to go to the casino, or I want to go to the movie theater, whatever the case may be, instead of driving there, I had made the decision, I'm going to try and bike there. I'm going to try and take the bus there. I'm going to try and walk there. And the reason I did that is by training my brain to increase my time cost, my risk, and all the other things. I actually reduced the joy, immediate, instantaneous joy, hedonist joy of getting that burger. It's no longer a $2 burger that takes 3-minute drive and I have it in my hand and there's no risk. Now, I gotta walk 1.5 miles, 2 miles. I have to hope that it's not gonna rain, which it does happen. I have to hope that nobody sees me walking there, because if my mom sees me, she's gonna pull over and wonder if my car's broken down or if I'm in some kind of trouble. Friends always stop me on the road when I go for my walks. There's risks. I can't get that burger immediately. And I found over time that walking to the joint with the fast food that I craved, oh, by the way, Krispy Kreme donuts, oh man, those were so good. By the time I got there, I usually got in a good 2-mile walk, good exercise, and by the time I got there, I realized I don't really want that burger anymore. I don't want that donut anymore. I don't want the junk food that I had planned to go get. The same thing happened with curbing my desire to buy junk at Best Buy or Target or whatever guy junk that people buy. Because I walked there, I found that I needed that brain hit far less. I was able to cut my costs, my spending costs on gas, on car insurance, on oil changes and brake jobs, because I wasn't just jumping in the car all the time. And by learning to cut those low cost, low risk, high immediacy purchases, I was able to transport that reduction in reward, lower reward goal into my online shopping as well. I realized how easy it is to go to Amazon and just buy something, and a day or two later I would have it dirt cheap. Except how many things did I buy that I never used again? So by understanding the valuations that go into calculating reward, I am able to understand, judge, measure, rate if something that I'm buying is worth it for me. Or if maybe all I needed was to get on the road, put my shoes on, take a risk with that rain, take a risk that I'm going to run into somebody I know, and just get pleasure out of having a good hike through my town, meeting my neighbors. So those are the basics of reward. When I talk about higher reward and lower reward, I don't mean, oh, it feels so good, that's rewarding to me. That is really what reward is, but in reality, there's many little calculations that go into each individual's desire for joy, desire for happiness. And if you can reduce how easy it is to get at that happiness, you have a better chance of not becoming addicted to it. If you are addicted to getting in the car and driving to the fast food joint and picking up some food, instead of trying to cut that out entirely, instead of trying to switch it for a healthier product, how about ignore that final food and go for it? Go get it, but change the method that you use to get it. Like, instead of going right now, maybe say next time I'm going to go at 6 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning by car. Or if you've got a nice bus system, try that. Hop on the bus, get yourself to the destination and see if you still want that item. And if you do, go for it. You've earned it at that point. You've reduced your reward. The burger might still be bad for you, and maybe you still can't afford it, but you've done something to increase the time it takes to get it, to increase the labor of your own it takes to get it, to decrease the immediacy, to increase the risk of possibly not getting it. Maybe the bus is going to be late. Maybe you'll miss the bus entirely. By doing these things, we can start analyzing every consumer hedonistic goal that we have every moment of every day of our lives. I hope that was helpful. And if you like this video, the most important thing you can do is share it with your friends. Get them to ponder these lower reward living thoughts. I'm Adam Brian Dada. Have a good one.